Despite what any rumors or betting sites are telling you, Eli Drinkwitz is not going to the University of Florida. And I'm going to explain why right now on Locked On Mizzou.
You are Locked On Mizzou, your daily podcast on the Missouri Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, all you true sons and daughters, I'm John Miller, your Mizzou mafioso. And as members of Power Mizzou are starting to figure out, a guy who might know a thing or two about a thing or two. So thanks for joining me today here on the podcast. Going to talk today about Eli Drinkwitz changing his stripes, at least a little bit offensively in terms of strategy, but also very much staying the same in a lot of ways as well. Plus, will a talent fee be coming to Faurot Field sometime soon? I want to talk about all that on the program. First, though, I want to tell you that this episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. And here's the thing. I hesitated on talking about even bringing up Eli Drinkwitz going to Florida. I haven't heard any real, it's not as though Brett McMurphy or somebody who's really plugged in to college football nationally or any Missouri locals like Gabe DeArmond or anybody like that. I haven't heard anybody of that sort saying that Eli is going to Florida. But then when you look over at a betting site, no, not my friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook, they are far too, smart to put this out there. Let's put it that way. But no, Eli to Florida, the fourth best odds, according to a betting site out there. Lane Kiffin of Ole Miss, number 1. Jamie Chadwell, number 2. And, of course, Deion Sanders, who would want to hire him right now, is number 3. Again, Eli Drinkwitz, 4th. And here's the thing. Let's just think about this logically. Now, a lot of Gator fans are going to say, well, obviously Florida is a better job. We have more money, a better recruiting base, and all that kind of stuff. So obviously Eli Drinkwitz should come here. Well, at the risk of rehashing some of the argument that I did this past offseason involving Blake Baker's lateral move to LSU. No, we're not going to rehash that once again for all you everydayers out there. But what I am going to point out is it's the wrong way to look at the argument if you think that, well, Florida is a better job than Missouri, and therefore Eli Drinkwitz should go to Florida. That's just simply the wrong way to look at it. And I'll say the same thing with Lane Kiffin, by the way, at Ole Miss. Of course, Florida historically is a better program than Missouri and Ole Miss. It's hard to argue otherwise when Florida is a multi-time national champion as recently as 2008. At the same time, though, 2008 is kind of a long time ago at this point. Literally, of course, it's 16 years ago, but in some ways it feels much longer ago than that in the world of college football, especially in the post-pandemic world of college football with name, image, and likeness, the transfer portal, and the like. So the question is not, is Florida a better job than Missouri or not? Of course, Florida is a great job. It has a ton of advantages, including being right smack dab in the middle of the best and most fertile recruiting grounds geographically in America. Not just in Florida, but you're also in northern Florida, near Alabama, Mississippi, all those places, Atlanta, of course, and you're relatively near Miami as well. I mean, you couldn't be in a better spot geographically to pick up great football players. You really couldn't. And there's no doubt that all things being equal, Florida fans have shown that they're going to spend more on football than Missouri fans. That's again, this is a fact. But the way you have to look at this is, would going to Florida, is that a good career move for Eli Drinkwitz? Is that a good career move for Lane Kiffin? My answer would be no, because in both of those guys' cases, and I bring up Lane Kiffin because I think it is a similar position. Lane Kiffin's name gets brought up every single year when a perceived better job like Auburn, for example, last season, well, everybody just assumes, well, I guess Lane Kiffin's, I guess he's gone. I guess he's going to be leaving Ole Miss. But the problem is, if you think about it in terms of a career move, even if Florida or Auburn, whoever is willing to offer Lane Kiffin or Eli Drinkwitz more money, for example, well, you've got to balance that with the idea of, okay, maybe Florida has more upside than those schools. I'll grant you that. But is the risk worth the reward? Because as we've seen, unless you're Urban Meyer or Steve Spurrier, you're on an awful short leash at Florida these days. It's going to be, what, half a season before Kiffin or Drinkwitz, they lose one game as a touchdown favorite. I mean, they're immediately going to be on a hot seat that is so much hotter than anything they're ever going to feel in the near realistic future at Missouri or Ole Miss. So to me, not only that, there's just so much talk of Florida's administration just being a mess, by the way. So we may have some board of curator problems in general here at Missouri. At least we think we do. Well, I think it's nothing compared to what's going on at Florida by all accounts. And also by all accounts, Eli Drinkwitz is basically in charge of the entire university, certainly the entire athletic department, board of curators included. Again, is he going to have that type of power and leverage and leeway at the University of Florida? It sure doesn't seem like it to me. So again, I kind of apologize almost for starting the show with something that really is a pretty baseless rumor at this point, although I have heard through some back channels that, through some legitimate back channels, well, Eli Drinkwitz, his agent, is talking to Florida. That's the whole thing. Well, again, I'm not saying that's even a lie, but what I will caution people with is Eli Drinkwitz's agent, I believe, is a fellow by the name of Jimmy Sexton. He is well known for getting his clients paid by using different, as he should, by the way. That's his job, using other people with more money to get more money for his clients. That's all well and good. I'm just telling you, let's see it for what it is, which is probably more of a leverage play behind the scenes. Hey, these coaches these days, every winning season, every successful season seems to result in a contract extension these days. So you're always angling for that next extension. That part I understand. The part I wouldn't understand is Eli Drinkwitz, to me, making too much of a risky move there. That just doesn't make a lot of sense, especially in a world where Missouri's done very, very well and been very competitive in this new name, image, and likeness landscape that is out there in college football. And on top of that, just, sign the check for $250 million, essentially, for that North End Zone project. By the way, groundbreaking on that project, this was from a couple weeks ago. This is news. It's been so much actual football, I've almost forgotten about all the off-the-field stuff. But groundbreaking on the North End Zone going to happen on November 30th. So very soon after this season, it's going to be construction crews working all the way through the 2025 season. So if you remember the 2018 season when there was a lot of construction happening in the South End Zone, decent chance we'll be seeing something like that next season as well, but it should be awfully cool for 2026. I'll say that. The project did pass the vote unanimously, $250 million. That was sort of the rumored price tag or the pre-reported price tag. It's what it ultimately ended up being officially. So there you go. Interesting times here at Missouri. And again, laying all this out, why leave now? Eli Drinkwitz keeps asking, why stop now? Seriously, why stop now? He's built something really, really impressive here at Missouri in just 5 years. Hopefully Missouri can cash in with another big season this year and keep the momentum rolling. This is why 2024 is such an enormous and pivotal season for this program. And somewhat surprisingly to me, Eli Drinkwitz has changed his stripes on one of the core tenets of his offensive strategy. And, well, he's also not changed in one area, too. We've had a lot of praise for Eli. I've had a lot of praise for Eli, I should say, on this program. But you know what? One small criticism, something we've got to clean up just a little bit on Drinkwitz's end as well. Going to talk about all that here in just a little bit. But first, though, you've heard me talk a ton about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Well, we have something a little bit different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account, a current form of payment, and you could cancel at absolutely any time. That's the real beauty of cord cutting, in my humble opinion. Well, by the way, Missouri now under 3 touchdowns as a favorite. It was 21.5 just yesterday over at FanDuel. Line now down to 20.5. Missouri, your favorite. I think I'm going to stay away from that one this week, although I'm rather confident that the Tigers are going to pull the victory out, that's for sure. But regardless of your thoughts and leanings, you got to visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sports book. And this time of year, I love going to live events, especially Major League Baseball. During a pennant race, well, the Kansas City Royals are going to be taking on the dastardly, I would say, San Francisco Giants this weekend. And you got to use Gametime to get your last-minute tickets. Gametime even has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes it even easier to find excellent deals to your favorite live events, whether it is concerts, football, baseball, the whole deal. And for example, Gametime Picks. Let me click for Friday's ball game right now. Takes me to the best deal out there, in their opinion, in the Hy-Vee box. All-in price for $26. Again, just click the all-in, toggle that option, and you're going to know exactly all the fees and everything up front. So that $26, that's going to be your final checkout price. No surprises at checkout with Gametime. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime. So all offseason, when it comes to the Missouri running back position, I was saying, hey, if Eli actually goes with more than one running back for a significant period of time, I'll believe it when I see it. I thought there'd be a split in September probably, but now that Missouri is 3 games into the season, I have to say Missouri is genuinely playing 3 running backs, even in an important close game against Boston College. And I think that's a good thing, and I think it's going to continue for the rest of the season, by the way. So far, Nate Noel indeed has the lion's share of the carries with 45 rushing attempts, but Marcus Carroll with 30 with a significant amount as well. And here's the thing with those numbers. If you look at their yards before contact, for example, well, what are they getting before their hit? That's basically the offensive line's credit, right? Well, not a huge surprise. Both guys are right about 3 yards before contact. That is Nate Noel and Marcus Carroll. That makes sense. They're running behind the same first-team offensive line. Now, what's really interesting, their yards after contact average, both an identical 2.33 per carry. So Noel and Carroll have basically performed almost exactly the same in terms of yards after contact. That's where basically the running back gets the credit statistically. The yards after contact, yards before, well, that credit, generally speaking, is going to go to the offensive line. Now, Jamal Roberts only with 4 carries on the season, but you may have noticed he's kind of Missouri's third down running back at this point in terms of, hey, it's an obvious passing situation. We want somebody in there we can trust in pass protection, possibly to catch the football out of the backfield as well. That seems like Jamal Roberts. Also, Roberts on Brady Cook's little okey-doke touchdown run there where he juked a couple of defenders last week. Well, Roberts was actually Cook's lead blocker on that play as well. So Missouri actually using 3 running backs right now pretty significantly. I think that's a good thing. They have enough of a difference in terms of skill set despite on paper, Noel and Carroll kind of looked like the same guy at this moment. My eyeballs tell me that actually their skill sets are disparate enough that I think that a split still does make a lot of sense. Plus, you just want to keep the load off of those guys to some extent. Not everybody's going to be like Cody Schrader and be able to take the massive load that he carried for the Tigers last season. By the way, Kejuan Lacey, I know a lot of Missouri fans were excited about him. I said he kind of failed his opportunity for this season when he fumbled the ball for the second time. Well, just to the point of Missouri fans who really like what they see in Lacey, look at these yards before contact and yards after contact number. Now, clearly Lacey not running behind the first team line. He only got 1.7 yards before contact, or I should say the offensive line got him 1.7 yards per contact. But then after contact, suddenly Kejuan Lacey 4.5 per carry. That's more than double Noel and Marcus Carroll. Now, small sample size disclaimers, very obvious here for Lacey. Just 11 carries for Lacey. But there's a reason why Missouri fans are very excited about this young man. And despite what some may perceive as a negative comment there about the fumbles, him blowing his opportunity, there's a reason that I think Kejuan Lacey could be Missouri's lead back as soon as next season. And it's pretty much these two numbers kind of tell you the story right there. And speaking of running backs, well, the running backs for Boston College last week against Missouri averaged 2.6 yards per carry. And considering how impressive the Eagles were against Florida State, just pushing the Noles around, you got to just once again give the Missouri front seven a ton of credit. I know there were some mistakes on the back end in the secondary in that ball game, some really costly mistakes that obviously Missouri needs to clean up. But my goodness, the front seven, you just can't say enough about the game plan that it executed and obviously just the physicality that they showed by meeting players at that big offensive line for Boston College at the point of attack and pushing them backwards. It was really, really impressive stuff. Now, I will say on the negative column, I did mention that there's one thing I'd like to see Eli Drinkwitz get a little bit better at, and that's clock management. And don't get me wrong, I think Drinkwitz actually noticeably improved last season in terms of clock management. But you know what? He's not perfect. And he doesn't have to be perfect to be a great coach, by the way, as Kansas City Chiefs will tell you. Andy Reid is far from perfect in terms of clock management. But I will say at the end of the half, I think Missouri mismanaged that situation a little bit. Fortunately, it didn't cost the Tigers anything because Blake Craig made a 55-yard field goal. But to me, when Missouri gets the first down with 17 seconds left and it decides to get up to the line quickly and run another offensive play, to me that's a mistake, simply because if you get up and you clock the ball, you spike the ball there in that situation, well, wasting a down doesn't hurt you because with 17 seconds left, realistically 3 snaps is all you're going to get. A second down play, a third down play, and then you save that one timeout to make sure that you can get on the field for a fourth down field goal attempt. Fine and dandy. Now, again, fortunately, Missouri got the ball into field goal range. Craig makes an absolutely outstanding kick that may have been good from 65, to be honest with you. But it would have been nice to get a little closer, right? How about a 45-yarder? Those are statistically a lot more likely to go in. So, again, just something to improve upon there. I really do think Eli giving up offensive coordinator and play calling duties has got to help him in this regard. It's just one less thing off of his plate. And you know what? This reminds me, actually, Miami's coach, the University of Miami, the Hurricanes. Well, Mario Cristobal hired a time management coach this past offseason. And the jokes write themselves there if you like to make fun of Mario Cristobal. But from my perspective, I really respect this move. Honestly, a little self-reflection and realizing, hey, I could actually use some help here. Maybe there's a lot of things that Mario Cristobal is good at. If managing the clock isn't one of them, well, then by all means, find somebody to do that. Because I'm telling you this, for as much as Andy Reid has driven me nuts over the years with clock management, I've long since realized, well before Patrick Mahomes even showed up, that yes, the trade-off is worth it because he's doing a lot of good things in terms of the offense and coaching the team and a billion other different things. But let's put it this way. If Andy Reid came out tomorrow and said, hey, I'm going to hire a time management guy, I would give that 2 thumbs up. Doesn't mean I'm shoving him out the door or anything. I just think we can all obviously get better at stuff, and that is one area where Missouri is still not perfect. And every little detail, when the margin of victory is so slim, obviously matters. And for all you people who like to attend live football games at Faurot Field, well, could a talent fee be coming to your season ticket and individual game tickets soon? It's quite possible in this changing landscape. You never know. So I'm going to talk about that coming up here in just a little bit. But first, speaking of the changing landscape, have you heard about ROY? It stands for Return on You, and it's a new platform that lets you, the fans, get involved in NIL like never before by making contributions directly to your favorite athletes. By supporting players directly, you can help shape rosters, retain talent, and keep your favorite athletes out of the transfer portal. As all of you know, NIL has changed the game for athletes, while ROY changes the NIL game for fans. These are no-risk contributions. Fans' contributions are securely held and are only distributed if the athlete makes the decision that aligns with the fan's support. If not, the money is returned to the fan. By using ROY, fans not only support athletes financially, but also become part of their NIL journey, helping them succeed both on and off the field. So download ROY for iOS or Android and enter referral code LOCKEDON, and you'll automatically be entered into a sweepstakes to win $5,000 cash. Visit joinroy.com for additional details. No purchase necessary, void where prohibited. Support the players, change the game with ROY. So one of the advantages that Missouri certainly has had in terms of name, image, and likeness here over the past couple, 2 to 3 seasons or so, let's say, is that Missouri was able to bring its NIL operation in-house. Essentially, it wasn't an outside operation. No, it was within Missouri's walls. And, well, that is now the strategy that everyone else, every other major program basically is now trying to copy for all intents and purposes. Well, Tennessee has now laid this relationship bare, as according to Brett McMurphy, the Vols are going to add a 10% talent fee on all football tickets starting next season. This fee will go to the players, helping fund the proposed revenue share with the players. Tennessee estimates per seat price increase averaging a little under 5% for the entire season. So about a 4.5% increase there is what they are projecting. So 4.5% is definitely not nothing, but considering how many fans Tennessee has, I think they're going to be okay. And frankly, I think you're going to see this coming to Faurot Field pretty darn soon too. The Missouri Athletic Department has shown it's very aggressive these days, especially when it comes to the football program. Hey, I'm all for it. I'm not going to complain. And if the cost of Missouri, quite honestly, being better and being a playoff contender on a regular basis over the next decade or so, well, if that costs my parents 5% more of their money to buy me football tickets, darn it, that's just a sacrifice that I'm willing to make. But in all seriousness, though, I think this is very much something that's going to be coming to Faurot Field soon. I really do. Maybe even as soon as next season. This north end zone, this expensive roster, hey, this stuff is not going to pay for itself. And, well, certainly the television companies, these media companies, and the universities have not decided to break off any of that rather large pie yet. That's for darn sure. And, of course, I follow Mizzou football just about as closely as anyone. But I tell you, some of you everydayers in my audience, there are some details that you guys notice that even get past me, I have to admit. And the other day when I mixed up Khalil Jacobs and Corey Flagg, the 2 transfer linebackers, Well, one thing I remembered is that in the BC game, watching the broadcast back after attending the game, is at one point, Khalil Jacobs, at least I think it was Khalil Jacobs, number 29, made a play in the backfield against Boston College, and the announcer on television said, "Hey, great play by Cameron Keys." And I thought, I don't think that's Cameron Keys. But you know what? Cameron Keys on the Missouri roster also listed as number 29. Is that really the case? If so, that's pretty bizarre to me because, don't get me wrong, I understand that there are duplicate numbers on the football roster. For instance, I'm pretty sure there's got to be there's a defensive player. Yes, Drayden Norwood wears number 12. Well, who also wears number 12? Brady Cook. Well, here's the deal. Drayden Norwood and Brady Cook are never on the field at the same time. Well, obviously, Cameron Keys, a freshman defensive back, and Khalil Jacobs, a linebacker, well, they could very much, in theory, be on the field at the same time. Has Keys played at all this season? What the heck is going on here? Some of you help me out with this. I will try to solve the mystery here in the coming weeks. But you know what? I bet you everydayers are on top of it. I bet you can solve it for me. So thanks as always to listen. Thanks as always, I should say, easy for me to say, for listening to and watching Locked On Mizzou. Thanks for telling a fellow true son or daughter about the podcast. And look for the SEC squad tomorrow, rush hour, another fun discussion with all of my SEC squad, fellow Locked On hosts. I think it was our best one yet. I really do. So check it out tomorrow. Talk about all of the weekend's games, including Vanderbilt, Missouri, in your feed for Locked On Mizzou. Check it out again tomorrow right here on Locked On Mizzou.